It is the 10th of March 2023. So last night I had a little argument with my girlfriend. Usually I wait until the end of the day when I'm driving home to talk about it, but it's kind of I have to get it out of my chest. It's not a big deal. We eventually shook hands on it, and no harm done. But I feel like I should speak to a empty phone about this again, because it is all right, stop chit-chatting and let's get to the point. So basically the one argument we had yesterday was about we started about how sometimes men brag about having multiple sexual partners. Of course, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about, like, what was it? Oh, we're talking about like basketball somehow. We talked about Wells Chamberlain, and he had a nickname about Chamberlain the 2000 or 20,000 or something like that, because rumor has it that he has sex with 20,000 women. And it was an anecdote. It was funny to me, so I shared that anecdote, and she got really upset. Basically, if you think of it, it's not funny for a man to brag about having multiple sexual partners with women. And I understand that. I even agree that it is very toxic for average men, not average men, for any man to brag about, how they're so getting laid in bed with the ladies, and they're, getting more sex than the average man or whatever. I think it's trivial. I think it's something men should not do. It's toxic. I agree with that. I agreed with that while we were talking about yesterday. And then she proceeded to make the point that, so it's so unfair. Why does only men get to brag about, having sex with multiple women, but women don't get to brag about having sex with multiple men? Well, that's where I disagree. Okay, I can completely get on board with the fact that it is toxic, it is wrong, it is trivial, stupid to brag about having sex with more than one woman, or for men to do that. But let's be real here. All right, why is there a different standard for men and women when it comes to bragging about having sex? Of course there is. Of course there is, because you have to have two standards, because the difficulties for a man to have multiple sexual partners is like 10,000 times higher than a woman. Let's be real about this, okay? Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. It's whatever reason you wanna summarize it as, biological reasons, because women are taking more risks of having sex. Their genitalia is more likely to get the disease. They have to risk getting pregnant and having kids. It causes a lot of damage to women, and they're the weaker physical sex in average, of course. So they have to worry about getting raped or getting physically damaged during sex, or if they refuse to have sex. So all those factors, and some of the factors I probably didn't mention, come to the conclusion that women has to be, and rightfully to be, the party who is more cautious of having sex. All right, I agree with that. I completely agree. And because of that, when it comes to having sex, men is always the pursuer, and women is always the judge. In most cases, of course. Don't say like, there's one case where the woman really threw herself at a man and then he said no. Go fuck yourself, right? We're talking about statistics. We're talking about in general. And if I have to spend time arguing with someone who's using single anecdotes or single examples to rebuttal a general point, then I don't have time to argue with those people. So let's just say that if you're with me so far, right? If you're with me, which means that you agree that the reality is that men are most likely always the pursuer of sex, and women is the judge. She gets to judge whether it's going to happen. Basically, if she gives the green light, yeah, bam, the people are going to have sex. If she says no, then there's no sex. At least that's how it should work. I agree with that. So if that's a reality, of course, if if we're going to select one party, one gender, one sex to be the one who has the right to brag about having sex, it has to be the men. All right, I'm not talking about it should be men. You know, I'm not talking about like men should brag about it. They should not. It's toxic, it's trivial, it's stupid. But if we have to select a party, like grammars me here, if we have to select one party to be the one who has the right, who has more right to brag about having sex, it has to be the men, because the difficulty there, it's so different. All right, there's two tasks. One has a very high difficulty for men to have sex. One has literally negative difficulty for women to have sex. They literally have to say no to constantly reject men in order to not have sex, which means that if they do nothing, they will be having a lot of sex. They don't have to put any effort in it. Zero is too much of effort for a woman to put in having sex. All right, of course they don't get to brag about it. Okay, if there's a button of a machine which you can just push and it cooks delicious meals for you, do you get to brag how much of a good cook you are? Of course you can't, compared to someone who has to make everything from scratch. All right, of course that person has to be the one who has the right to brag about how good of a cook he is, not you. All right, that was my point, and then my girlfriend got really upset, and then I have to apologize. I have to say, oh honey, it's I totally understand you. It was my fault, which it is, because I'm not saying that my logic or my point of view is wrong. I'm talking about sometimes it's stupid to argue with women when you know where they stand, and it's wrong to try to bend someone else's will when you know it's not gonna make them happy. There's like, I'm wrong about that. I totally agree, and that's why I apologized, and we made up. But facts are facts. All right, that's what I said. Facts are facts, and here's the thing about women, is that they always want it both ways. If you try to think about this whole incident, right, they obviously don't hate the fact that they're the one who has to say no to sex. All right, if of course, in general, I will still agree that women is, if I have to choose a gender to be with, I will choose men, because there's, in this society, even though we have gone a long way when it comes to gender equality, but still we're not quite there yet. But when it comes to having sex, this one little aspect of human life, women are actually definitely the one who's having advantage here. I'm not talking about like complications resulted from sex, like having babies or sexual transmitted diseases. Just having sex for pleasure. Women are the one who always have the choices. They can just, any one of them. Don't tell me, oh, I'm ugly, I can't get laid. You just have to choose the same level of ugly men. They'll have sex with you, no questions asked. All right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, women always have the option of having sex basically whenever they want. So they obviously don't hate the fact that they're the dominant force in human intercourse, human sexual pleasure behavior or whatever. They obviously don't hate that. All right, if you ask them, hey, do you want to switch for man for a change? You have to learn how to game, you have to be funny, you have to be charming, you have to suffer the constant refusal and the frustration that comes to that. They wouldn't trade. Okay, they would rather to be a woman on that account alone. All right, but in the same hand, in the same time, they want to get credit for it. See, that's how women works. Like, they always want it both ways. Okay, of course, if we're talking seriously, everybody want it both ways. All right, men also want it both ways. We're human beings. We're selfish, and if we can have it, we want to have all the ways, right? But we're not talking about men today. If we're gonna have another topic about how men can be shitty too, how men can always want it both ways, or selfish, whatever, sure, we can talk about that. But today we're talking about women, and that's how they want it both ways. They have the advantage of dominating the human sexual behavior because they get to be the judge. They're men usually is the pursuer, and they want credit for it. They want to be able to brag about having sex with men just the same way as men get to brag about having sex with women. But you can't have it that way. You see, it's not, because you should not be able to get, you know, both ways. If today all women suddenly become the same level of neediness and pursuitness of men when it comes to having sex, then there's no problem. Nobody gets to brag about how they get to have sex, or everybody gets to. Fair. But if the reality is still that men are always pursuing women, they gotta be charming, they gotta be funny, they gotta be, you know, facing the chances, and women just have to be, oh, pick and choose. Oh, this guy, sure, this guy, I'm not a good mood today, so I'm gonna say no. No, if that's still the reality, no, women you do not get to brag about having sex with men. It is fair. End of story. All right. Now again, I wanna reiterate, bragging about having sex with women is stupid, it's trivial, but that's a separate issue. All right. You know, it's since we're talking about how women can be, you know, basically wanting to have both ways, double standard and everything. Here's another example. I can give you like 10 examples today. I don't hate women, all right? Of course I don't. I love them. I don't love them. I love the one. But here's some behaviors I have summarized. You know, being like basically just being with people. I would say that men are just the same level of selfish and double standard as women, if not more. Okay, but I sometimes get a little tested on the notion that women are somehow all saints. All right, all like these perfect people. Men are the shitty. Men are shittier. I agree with you. All right, so my only talking point is that women can be shitty too. Can be double standard too. Here's an example. All right, we always talk about how women make 77 cents every dollar men make for doing the same job. The number goes up to like 87 cents, sometimes 80 cents. I don't know the latest statistical number. All right, but in essence, women make less money than men for doing the same job. And their argument is that they should be making the same. I totally agree. That's one argument, right? Same job, same quality, same money, of course. That's like, no one can argue with that. That's one point I can totally get behind. The other point is that women are the, you know, weaker workforce because they're physically weaker. They have to suffer giving birth to a child, which is like at least a 2-year step back on their career, and they're historically, you know, being discriminated against when it comes to working. So all of those factors add together, plus some factors I didn't mention, make women, you know, having a disadvantage when it comes to work. So the society should compensate that by, you know, giving them more money, which I actually also agree. I believe that human civilization is so advanced. We are, you know, the production of food and shelters, you know, these days are so advanced, so abundant, that we can't afford to lend a hand on the relatively weaker workforce because they sacrifice a lot. Because also I believe that if you compensate them on that, you know, the society as a whole will benefit from it. You know, it's instead of creating such an inequality when it comes to working, if you just sacrifice a little bit of the society and give these resources to the workforce who's relatively weaker, in this case women, you know, the society in a whole will be benefiting from it very much. That's another point. Okay, so let me summarize. The first point, women are doing the same job with same quality and they're getting less, so of course they should get more. The other point is that they're actually, you know, producing just a little bit less in general and overall because they have to sacrifice too much. So we should make up for it. But here's the thing. I can theoretically get behind both these points. You know, both points leads to we should compensate women more and better. But you have to pick one. You just have to pick one because they're contradictory. If you say that women are doing the same job with the same quality and they're getting paid less, then it's contradictory with the fact that women are sacrificing a lot. Because if they're sacrificing a lot, of course they're not doing the same job with the same quality. Case in point, you know, like, okay, if you say that women cost less and produce the same amount of work, why isn't there an all-woman company? All right, are capitalists stupid? Don't they want to make more money? Like, if they just hire all women with 77 cents, you know, per dollar of hiring a man, and these women can do the same job with the same quality, why aren't these companies hire all women? Of course, there's some jobs more suitable for men, but the reality is that the companies in general are still discriminating, at least in a lot of countries, women. You know, why is that? Maybe because they know that women have to sacrifice so much for their family, and they sometimes produce a little bit less for the company, for work, which is, you know, totally justified, and I believe you should compensate for them, but stop saying that they're doing the same job with the same quality. Or you prove to me that they are doing the same job with the same quality, then stop this, you know, they're weaker, they should be compensated bullshit. It has to be one of these two, not both. Because this is the thing, if you're arguing with anything, it has to be under one standard, one point. They can't be contradictory to another. You can't pick and choose and then try one point of view. If it doesn't work, then try another. You know, that just makes you really ingenuine when it comes to arguing things. And yeah, I don't know. I'm at work. I literally like 20 seconds later. So I'll see you next time. You know, I do believe that these days we focus too much on men-women issues, and you know, sometimes give those other class issues, like how the rich are ripping off the poor, less attention than it deserves. I hope something that changes, but I don't see how that happens, because everybody has to deal with men and women issue, and you know, it's their everyday life. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.